This is Flick,
This is Rudy.
and welcome to the 10th episode of the Left of the Dial podcast.
10 episodes. That is a milestone by my standards, at least for me.
Many more to come, I hope.
Yeah, good times. Today we are going to spend a little bit of time on new music. I went down a real rabbit hole this week that I need to, and I got to let the hen out. So we got to talk a little bit of new music this week.
And we're going to be finishing up our autumnal anthems, part two. Even though most of the people in this country, in the country that we do the podcast in, are experiencing very much January and February like conditions this week. But you know, we're still thinking about the fall that could have been.
Well, today was fall when today in New York City it was fall in the morning, but when I walked out of work today and got hit by it, was the first hit of winter wind here for the Northeast. So definitely, while fall may be in retreat, there's enough great fall music left to talk about to squeeze every last bit of equity out of that. And then today we also have a very intense installment of the Banality draft. Today we are drafting Journey.
Yeah. Yep. Never did I think I would be thankful for the Doobie Brothers, but this week I think I'm going to be feeling that way.
That's music to my ears. I'm happy to hear that. I thought the Doobie Brothers was a quality pick too. We should reflect. This will be also our 10th Banality draft. We endured a lot of pain. We really did suffer for our art. And I admire us for it.
Well, we'll see. We still have the installment to come.
That is true. So let me kick off. I don't do a ton of follows on social media for bands. If I was to look at the songs I've listened to most and the albums I've listened to most, they're not the best social media follows. Like Bob Dylan, not a great social media follow by any means.
Not a great tweeter.
No, not a great monkey man. And he's absolutely got people who work for him who are they're fans enough to those people are a good follow, but it has nothing really to do with Bob Dylan. One of the best follows, though, one of the things I actually really do follow is Third Man Records, the Jack White's record company. And because while I'm not in their record club does make kick-ass stuff. And I like the unboxing videos and I like all that other stuff. And they're surprisingly they're just a surprisingly good follow. That was also the account that I believe broke the code of the new Kanye record of where the catalog number came from. One of the record nerds that works at Third Man Record figured out what the Kanye catalog number was a reference to. It was some super obscure Detroit gospel record from 1970. Third Man is just a good follow. And this week they had some showcase with a bunch of their bands, and I think I either caught a snippet that I liked or it came up on my Spotify later too. I'm sure no accident. And I gave it a listen, and I just got down this little branch of the weird little branch of the music tree in the last couple of days, where I've just been finding one great little song after another by following this one little branch. So the branch started with the band Deadbeat Beat, and the song is called How Far? The album rather is called How Far. The song's called You Lift Me Up. Fantastic. Really good. Derivative. Not going to win any originality awards, perhaps, but so what? It doesn't matter. And then it is Neil Young's birthday today, and the other song that I got from the Third Man was Jacuzzi Boys' Out of the Black, which has to be a throwback to Neil in some way. That's the thing he doesn't. It was there for the taking. If it wasn't Neil, it should have been a Neil reference. But the song "Out of the Black" by Jacuzzi Boys also I thought was stellar. So I started working through their catalog and some of their historical stuff and the sounds like, and I just got down this little rabbit hole, and I posted what I think is the cream of that crop. It was a great week otherwise for new music, but this little rabbit hole following the third, but just a couple little ideas from the Third Man social media feed was a very, very, very productive endeavor for me. It's given me like another month of stuff to digest. I can't remember which one it is. I think Deadbeat Beat is from Jacuzzi Boys are from Miami, I believe. And
that would sound right.
Yeah. I want to make sure I have that right, and I might not. But they had it was one of these two had a great playlist of it was the Jacuzzi Boys playlist called Magic City Jams. It's fantastic. And so I got some really great stuff out of there too. So I just had to share. My cup ranneth over, and I felt compelled to mention that. And also on the new music tip, my Purple Mountains record finally came in the mail this past week. I didn't pre-order it. I didn't think I would need to. You know what I mean? Like I listened to it on the streaming services to begin with, but I definitely, that's one of those albums I would have always wanted a physical copy of. I just didn't pre-order it, and because I didn't pre-order it, I didn't get it. It's been months waiting for this thing, but it really did arrive. So they really are printing that thing up as fast as they can and filling the orders. So I don't. Again, it's a little bit weird that I would imagine otherwise, I guess. But every once in a while, in situations like this, something changes with the product and you don't get the original thing. And that's usually not for the better. So I'm very happy that album arrived. It is such a good record. The lyrics are great. I don't know if anybody's ever read the David Berman book of poetry he put out. Definitely should grab that. So I was very excited about the Purple Mountains record arriving. Did you happen to see how David Berman ended up in the news this week?
I didn't, and I'm still waiting on my vinyl copy. But yeah, go ahead with that.
He got a RIP message on the Tennessee Titans board at a home game this weekend. So the Titans gave him you're missed, and we will always love you. Love Nashville, and Nashville loved you. Sort of a send off. So David Berman got a scoreboard memorial at a Tennessee Titans game this week, which I thought was pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice story. It's a little bit late, but
This is true. On the new music tip, you and I both, I think, I don't think we get the exact same new releases sent to us on Fridays, but we get enough of them in common that I think both you and I have been listening to the Beck stuff as it starts to trickle out, and the Black Lips stuff as it's starting to trickle out. And both Black Lips and Beck had new stuff out this week, both of which I think are quality. I liked the first Black Lips single. Little bit of a sort of a period piece. Like their whole catalog is backward looking, so you can't get mad that you get one particular record that's really backward looking. But the new one is fantastic. The new I want to say it's I moved my playlists around to make room for Journey, and now I can't find anything. That's really my curse.
You're talking about Gentleman.
Yeah, Gentleman's really good.
Yeah, and the Black Lips are always fun. It's a good song, and Black Lips. Have you ever seen them live?
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun live.
They can bring it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a little bit. When I saw them one time, they ended up TPing the stage and pretty much everything around the stage.
Nice.
And so definitely a strong recommend to see them live. I don't know if you want to be right up front for that one. You might want to have a safe distance from the stage, but it's definitely fun.
I have such a creepy corporate rock horror story. When I saw them, I was there like at a work function. What's the name of the big outdoor festival in Austin?
The Austin City Limits Festival.
Yeah. I saw them there. That was a great. I saw First Aid Kit there. I saw M83 there. I normally don't like do work functions. You know what I mean? Like I normally don't travel to like, junket type stuff like that, but I couldn't pass that up. Could not. Afghan Wigs played that one too, now that I think about it. But I had corporate rock, whore, Toad, everything that you hate about old people coming to concerts. That was me that day. I might as well have worn like the white New Balance shoes with some khakis and like a blue shirt from Kohl's. Like you could not be a bigger corporate rock asshole than I was that day. But I was able to they had like special seats that were at stage level, but just off stage. So like we basically were sitting on the stage next to like the band's girlfriends. So I got to see the audience when I saw the Black Lips. Like I was basically on the stage because one of the companies I worked for at the time happened to had a toady connection to a sales guy who like VIP'd all the worst people in the world, including myself. So there you go. There's my Austin Black Lip story. So I didn't get to be in front of them, but I understand. I got to see it from the other angle, and I concur with your assessments, sir.
Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun live.
Good times. I also just want to throw in before we get into our autumnal hymnal. I threw in a cover that has. I'm no expert on the music of Latin America. I'm no expert on the music of the Spanish language by any means. But as a part of this, looking at the Miami artists on this playlist, I ended up somehow getting into the fans of this band will also like for an artist named Xenia Rubinos, which I'm probably mispronouncing. But all apologies to Xenia for mispronouncing, but she does I think, pretty faithful cover of the Clash's "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" But just the fact that it's a female voice and a female voice in Spanish, I'm telling you, there's a lot of equity in this song, in general. But like this cover is faithful to the original, but does not feel overplayed the way the original does. Like it does put something fresh back into it. I put it on the playlist for everybody. You if you're a fan of the Clash or you just like rock and roll music, I think this is just a nice little confection.
Yeah, and it is I would say my "Should I Stay or Should I Go" cover of preference, because usually that's a song that lends itself to the worst possible covers.
Right.
Because it is one of those things that just naturally, like somebody would cover that trying to get a hit out of it,
Right.
Yeah, and so this is
love. She absolutely loves it. Now, here, before we move on, I just want to say this. There's a major disappointment I have in this record, though, and this is a bit of a Clash nerd thing or just a nerd thing. "Should I Stay or Should I Go" has a call and response between English and Spanish in the original version, where where Joe Strummer sings in English and he gets it sung back to him by the band in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for sure they would just flip it in this cover and have her do the Spanish and have the band call back to her in English. I think as a production touch, that might have been tight. And it's not how they did it. It's Spanish the whole way through. I guess that's the artist's call. But I thought exactly what you were saying. Like, this is a cover made out of love. This band, the backup tune, you can't fake that. Like, there's no way you could like hand somebody an arrangement and be like, here's how you sing the backup vocals for "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" Like, they love the record too, and they sing it like they love it. I thought for sure they'd go for that little bit of fan service, but they did not. Sad.
Yeah, but yeah, "Should I Stay or Should I Go" is definitely the Clash song that you would picture a Hannah Montana version of.
Yeah, it may happen yet. So, all right, I feel much better because I've had a couple slow weeks on the music front where like maybe you get one or two decent songs out of the recommendations. But for some reason, this massively productive week has really... The worst part about all of this is I have to go back and change some of my best of the year, best of the decade rankings, I think. I think this throws my previous lists back into disarray, which again, being a 100% music nerd, is great news because it means I can sit and tinker with these things for another 10 hours, even though I'm the only person who ever listens to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you haven't mentioned a few yet, because this is the Proto Martyr and the Polyrock and the Crumbs. Those were new ads, right?
Yeah, those were all new ads. And again, like Polyrock to me sounds like some A&R company looking at like Devo and Oingo Boingo and the B-52s and being like, well, who's left in the new wave market that's, angular and but slightly retro kitsch? I had never heard of them. I had never heard of this record by Polyrock, but it came out in the original versions came out in their first albums were 80 and 81. So think of like a band trying to get over on the Devo side of things, or they're a little bit more like the B-52's first record or second record than they are Oingo Boingo, perhaps. But it's like in that genre. It's a like it's the American ripoff of Wire, kind of. It's sort of like when everybody was sort of doing a Pink Flag derivative stuff. It's really good though. And this band Polyrock, I never heard of them, knew nothing about them. Philip Glass plays on the first record of theirs. Philip fucking Glass plays on their record. So this was a real find. Like I haven't mastered the catalog by any means, but there's a ton in there that's really good. I knew nothing about Proto Martyr. And now that I've gone and looked into them a little bit, like they're a little more popular than I thought. It's just me being completely. Yeah. I was on. They weren't really on my. They weren't really on my radar, but they surely are now. They are very derivative too of that era, that sort of harder early post-punk era. They're very derivative of it, but they do stuff with it that a little better than most. And Kim Deal's on one of their records.
Yeah, I was familiar with Proto Martyr. I'm not familiar with the Crumbs. Well, except now, but I wasn't before.
Crumbs record's a little bit. It's interesting, right? That record's almost 20 years old.
Yeah. Those were some good listens. So if you haven't checked out our Spotify page, that's up on our current November in rotation list.
Yeah. The Crumbs' most listened to song stream has 7,000 streams. I mean, I would never know who the Crumbs are without that awesome playlist from that I basically got from the Third Man feed. Thanks, Jack White. I needed it.
Jack White does it again.
Yeah. We got it. One of these days, we got to come back and talk about the Third Man catalog. Because I have to admit, I'm a fan. Generally speaking, I trust their reissues. Anyway, neither here nor there for now. Let's talk Autumn.
Okay, so now it's our second installment of Autumnal Anthems, as I like to call it. We did this a few weeks ago. It's we're capping it off, unfortunately, at a time where autumn is already a distant memory for me, and especially this week, winter came with an abandon this week.
Yeah, it just got shitty today here in New York, and by that I mean nothing compared to like what you would get in the Midwest, but by Northeast standards, tomorrow is going to be brutal.
Yeah. So looking out the window right now, there is plenty of snow on the ground. Single-digit wind chill factors. It's horrible. It's like January and February weather. But, I can think about years past when we actually had something you could call a fall, and have a good playlist to go along with those memories.
You love fall. You are the autumn season person.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the year, and now it almost doesn't exist. So
I normally wouldn't have thought about it that way because it's not my favorite season, but you're right. Damn it, you're right.
Yeah. Well, the leaves here, started falling off before they really changed color for the most part. So we didn't have much of that. And then we had the Arctic plunge into the single digit wind chill factors. And well, it's a great time of the year if you can get it somewhere.
Well, let's send it off properly. It's your season. I will yield to you first, sir. You may kick off part 2 of our autumnal anthems.
All right. Well, so for my list, kind of like I did last time, I focus more on music than really the like I don't have many songs that hit the autumn thing on the head. I did find out really after I picked my songs, I really did find out that there was a through line, a narrative through line in my songs, a theme, and it wasn't necessarily planned that way, but it's definitely there. So I'll kind of go over that as we go along.
Do it.
But to start off with, just kind of to set the table, I went with Autumn Sweater by Yo La Tengo, and to kind of give you an idea of what the narrative here. So this song is kind of a mismatched couple, perhaps, that is kind of going away. I'm not sure what they're really escaping from, but there's kind of this escape that they're on, and kind of this sort of second thoughts to the singer in the song, that maybe this isn't going to last. This is kind of this thing we're doing now. This might not, this might not be the strongest relationship in the world, but it is what's going on right now. And so that's my my first song on the list.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Yo La Tengo. It's one of their most streamed songs. It's their second most streamed song. It's quality. The fact that it's Autumn Sweater is on the nose for it, and
Yeah, it's the
each,
one. It's the one song on my list that's on the nose, but it's a strong song though.
yeah, you can't argue with it. We love, you and I think both love covers. I think everybody loves covers. Yo La Tengo are great at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, if you like, I don't think you can say you like rock music and not find something that you like from Yo La Tengo. So I happen to like their more shoegazy stuff, but I understand why people don't. Very good call, sir, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, and well, on the cover note, when I saw Yo La Tengo live, they finished off with a set of covers that had ZZ Top's give me all your loving," give me all your loving," followed by Neil Young's Time Fade. I'm tongue tied. Neil Young's Time Fades Away.
Damn, I mean they're music nerds.
Oh yeah,
and they're unashamed.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
I do like New Wave Hot Dogs as an album title. I think that's also that's one of their undervalued album titles. Just saying. I applaud your choice, sir. I was shamed by your last list. I realized that I was being. I'm going to get in my feelings in a little bit here, but I was a little too in my feelings because, again, to me, fall. I understand why people love it because it's beautiful. The leaves. I got to go to Massachusetts this year and see some leaves. Wasn't a great year for leaves, but again, like a half-ass year of Massachusetts in the fall is better than almost anything I've ever seen. And they got a lobster roll, which to me, they serve the lobster roll at the McDonald's.
Yeah. I've witnessed that. I didn't actually have one, but I actually it was very intriguing to me to go to McDonald's for a lobster roll.
Yeah, I've done it. It's like it's not a good lobster roll, but it's better than a lot of the sandwiches that are going to come out that window. So I felt ashamed that I didn't do more of what you just what we were talking about here, which is that the songs that have a feeling that you associate with the season rather than being too on the nose. So I'm going to try one of those, And I need to do more self-examination than I'm qualified to do to understand the connections I have between this song and the fall. But Simple Minds' song "Alive and Kicking" um, is they make a lot of records that are sort of cold sounding, great winter records. But for some reason, "Alive and Kicking" by Simple Minds is a song that I've always thought of as fantastic, like first cold night out type music. There's got to be something psychological um, about it that I can't quite unpack. But to me, that record, they made a lot of really great records. The fact that they also ended up having some pretty big hits, Alive and Kicking being one of them, is amazing to me because before their first big hit, they'd had like 4 or 5 albums already. I think Jim Kerr had already married Chrissy Hine by then.
Yeah, you know
It, Go ahead.
what's funny is you're associating that musically with well, November for our purposes here. I kind of have a December association with that. So
Well, I'll take this. I'll take that then, because for me, it's a cold weather song, and
yeah,
but I mean it in a pleasurable sense. Like there are some cold weather music that I can't is brutal. Like Swan's records sound like the winter time to me. Like I don't, or some of it does. Icy, like the Martin Hannett productions of the Joy Division stuff. Like that's all super brittle and icy and cold. Like there's a pleasurable, more organic, warm type of cold, and it's for me. I don't know why. It's Alive and Kicking by Simple Minds. I'm just being honest. That's all I got.
yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean that's and the thing about it is, Autumn Sweater does hit the nail on the head because it's in the title, but there is a reason why I picked that now in November and not in October, because
Mm.
it does kind of have that more cold weather sort of feeling, that more crisp sort of
Yep.
feeling to it. By the way, I need to ask you to double check something here.
Yes.
Simple Minds, because I haven't done my homework. They are an Irish band, right?
Scottish.
Scottish. Oh, okay. Well, I
Well,
gotta.
they're Celtic.
Okay, I might have to pull them off of the playlist I made because I didn't do my homework.
Their Live and Kicking was their first song released after the Don't You Forget About Me, which was their big breakthrough. And the fact that they just went back to being themselves and that got popular rather than them trying to write another massive hit record, I think they did the right thing. And I think it's that's their last great album, the one that comes from. So anyway.
Okay, so staying with the feel. The feel of colder weather, and I think also early, after daylight savings time, the nights start earlier, and that was like the root of my next pick, which is Poison Cup by M. Ward.
Mm.
It also helps with the theme, though, because in the first song, I talked about the kind of mismatched couple. This relationship might not last. Poison Cup has the idea that love is a poison cup. It's something you drink too much of, and you're going to regret it later. So it goes back to that. This is going to be a regrettable thing, but I'm going right into it. And so that is my second pick, Poison Cup by M. Ward.
What's your favorite M. Ward album?
Well, Post War is definitely my
Yeah.
favorite album.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I don't know. To me, it's really head and shoulders above the other ones, and it's not that his other work isn't good. Uh,
It's a great album.
yeah, Vincent O'Brien though almost was the song I went with, but then I like went back and listened to Poison Cup, and I was like, that's really the perfect song for this list.
Um, I can't fault any choice of any of his stuff. I'm a huge fan um, of him, and that's a great song. It's a great record. I think that even the EP, the To Go Home, as
Hmm.
an EP. That EP is that might be one of my favorite
Yeah.
EPs of all time. I mean,
Well, and
was just at his peak in that period.
Yeah, and the single there is a great Daniel Johnson cover, and the EP has heading for a fall, which is great.
Yeah.
And yep,
There's not a dud on it. He also did some work then with Bright Eyes that was good. Like he was really at his peak. Then I'm trying to remember if that's. I saw that tour with Victoria Williams as the opening act at Bimbo's in San Francisco, if I'm remembering this correctly. It was a solo show of his. It was, and it was just piano, him doing piano and guitar. It was amazing. And you and I saw him in Vancouver at the Mighty Commodore Ballroom, which
that's
is
right.
that's a special venue for sure. And he was there with a band. He was great there too.
Yeah.
So pretty great. I agree with you that post-war is the biggie in the catalog, but Transistor Radio is pretty good too. Anyway, I would love to do an all M Ward show one day, and M Ward is one of the main reasons I would say like the last genuinely golden era in rock music was the aughts in the indie rock stuff. Like it was just that period of like 2000 to 2008 was the indie rock was at its like really all-time high. The only comparable period really was for indie rock would have been like the post-punk era. It's that good, and it was in large part because of him. He was just all over and was great. Like it, Poison Cup, very good. I don't think I love Fall enough to go as deep as you do. I have a couple of cheap, like wordplay ones that I feel compelled to include because I've got today. I'm just foreshadowing here again. The most depressing song that I ever like. I've listened to a lot of Paint Your Nails Black type music in my music listening life, and the most bleak, dark song I've ever heard is in my choices today. And so I feel like I have to throw in at least one sort of chintzy, just name wordplay one, just to sort of leaven what's coming. So I'm picking Apple Scruffs from All Things Must Pass. All Things Must Pass. I think of the fall as having a very just it's really the warm and the organic, very different from spring. Spring is very green. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It wouldn't use warm, but the way that the colors of fall are.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that album, All Things Must Pass, even though it's got that huge production on it, like that literally a wall of sound on it. I think that album, especially his acoustic performances, really do retain. Like, think of the colors on the cover. All Things Must Pass. Like, it's brown and white. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like to me that and he's wearing his beard long and he's in the garden. You know, while it's still green, but it's overgrown green, meaning it's deep summer. It's like it's really to me like a very autumnal package and theme. And one of the reasons it's so great is because you would never say that about a Phil Spector record, but I think you can say that about All Things Must Pass. And that there's like demos that have come out since of just him doing acoustic demos of stuff like Apple Scruffs and all the great songs on there. And they're great, and he didn't mean them to be finished performances, but even those to me don't feel as like warm and organic as their counterparts on All Things Must Pass. And Apple Scruffs, I mean, come on, it's the apple is the greatest fall fruit by far. What
Well,
other fruit is fall?
but you do know what Apple Scruffs is a reference to, though, right?
No, tell me.
Okay, so Apple Scruffs were the groupies that would hang out at Apple Records.
Well, there you go. Oh, even better. That's even better. Because
Yeah.
again, I even said I had to go for a cheap, like name, a little bit of name wordplay, and that means I got it as cheap as humanly possible. So good for me. I'll take that one. I don't know. Beatles complaining. The Beatles cast-offs would be like almost everybody's like dream wife. You know what I mean? Like, I have a feeling what he calls scruffs, most of their male fans would have gladly been in, on the business end of that line.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely gave some consideration to the same album for selections for me. Like to me, there are many good fall songs and good November songs on those the three record collection there. Um, Beware of Darkness is
Yeah.
I think when you're really getting deep into November, that's perfect. Isn't It a Pity's right there with
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, Run of the mill. Just you could really pick about any. Like it is all things must pass. The title track is perfect for this time of year. Just about anything is off of that.
Yeah, I think I would nominate All Things Must Pass as the greatest solo record by a Beatle, although there's definitely competition from Band on the Run.
Hmm.
But I gotta say, even with its excesses, All Things Must Pass, like that's not really even like a winter record. I'm gonna say this might be a great autumn album. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna crank it for the rest of the week and see if it really is like if it's the whole package. Like, is this really great fall music? We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I think all things must pass, and the songs I just mentioned. I think those are the songs when the leaves are almost completely off the tree, off
Yep.
all the trees. Those are like the perfect songs to listen to at that point.
All right. I'm gonna say that my instincts were correct and I feel affirmed and I thank you for it.
All right. Well, okay. So my next selection, and appropriately, it's the Birthday Boy. It's Neil Young. Definitely. You first think of Harvest Moon and Harvest and all of that stuff that does hit the nail on the head. But I really like, for me, After the Gold Rush is a great album for November. It is right along the lines with All Things Must Pass, as it's sort of, it's getting dark earlier in the day. The leaves are down off the tree on the ground, and the song I went with is "I Believe in You" from After the Gold Rush. And it does also continue my theme of the being in a relationship that isn't going to last. Is kind of doomed, and it has the line, now that you've made yourself love me, do you think I can change it in a day? Just sort of like, yeah, this is going okay now, but this isn't going to work out in the long run. And
Right.
so it does just fit the narrative I have going here,
And
and it's
we should get into the narrative, although I'm the last person who should be psychoanalyzing anybody, it's least of all about relationships. So, but it's a very interesting, I don't know, because again, fall is either the big time for a harvest, the dancing in the moonlight, all of that great stuff, and then there's also this the November side of fall is
mhm.
definitely different. It's definitely different. It has a little bit of a darker edge to it. Like you gorged yourself at the Oktoberfest, and the bills due in November.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it definitely fall has foreboding about the future sort of baked into it. It's like it's where you
yeah.
have to think about that existential stuff. So the fact that you associate it with that is interesting.
Well, yeah, and it's knowing that January and February are right around the corner, or if you're living here right now, they're happening, even though
Yeah,
it's not literally January and February.
yeah. You might still get another couple days of hoodie weather before it becomes parka. We'll
Yeah,
see.
but yeah, November there is a lot to forebode, if that's proper usage.
You know what? After the Gold Rushes and All Things Must Pass both came out 1970. I mean, I was alive then, so I guess I don't think I would have heard too much of those in my parents' home. But what an amazing year for music! absolutely amazing year. To just have those two albums in it, I can't agree more about. I mean, Neil Young, that whole period, to me, even stuff like On the Beach feels
Mhm.
like On the Beach, particularly like Ambulance Blues, is what it feels like to stand on the beach in the like north of Southern California on one of those sort of moody, dark days. Seattle gets a lot of them. The Oregon Coast gets a ton of them. Northern super, Crescent City, Eureka gets a ton of those too. And San Francisco gets just enough of them. And where Neil Young lived on the peninsula there, like gets enough of them. Like that, his ability to capture that autumnal feeling, I think, does sort of start here on this record. But he really is great at it. It
Yeah.
really does sound like that.
Yeah. And On the Beach, by the way, it's amazing how long it took for that to ever come out on CD. Like just stayed
Yeah.
out of print all of those years, and such a classic. Like one to me, that's an essential Neil record. On the Beaches.
Oh God, yeah. I can't imagine. Yeah, that's the album that made me really like. There's a difference. I think like there are some. Everybody who listens to the album Harvest likes it. I mean, come on. Like you don't have to be a Neil Young fan to understand that like why that's considered a masterpiece. Why like almost everybody has that record in their record collection. And I because I wasn't around for this, I don't understand why people think there's this huge dramatic change in his career. So, to me, all that 70s output is really, there's a lot of continuity there. I can't believe that On the Beach wasn't like a huge record too. I don't understand how that was overlooked.
Yeah, I mean the only thing, and this is only a theory, and I stress that it's only a theory, but he made On the Beach when he was going through a divorce, and that's why I think a lot of the songs are very bleak, and I don't think it's he probably looks back on a lot of those songs fondly because of what he was going through at the time, but it's also part of what made those songs as great as they are too.
Yeah. I would never put a Neil Young song on my list because I would leave that for you. And so I had a lot of, I don't know, I may still steal one, but that's right up there. That era certainly, and anything from that album, I think would have scratched the itch for me. So no complaints. I am going to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you could easily put together a long playlist of just Neil Young songs for this time of year.
Just driving around California, listening to Neil Young, just driving around like outback California, even the highways, I guess a little bit depending on the song, but like driving through the countryside of California, listening to Neil Young is one of the most pleasurable experiences I've ever had. And I wasn't a big like stoner or anything either. Like what he is writing is organic to that place, and I don't know exactly the words to describe why I feel that way. But if you have the opportunity to just drive around Northern California in the countryside, just drive up to the redwoods and back, listening to Neil Young. I think it's transcendent. So, um,
I agree
no
from
complaints.
I agree from my limited experience doing that. That is true.
Oh, yeah, he's just he writes he captures he captures like a time, but he also has captured a place, and I just don't think you got to spend a little time out there. Um, I went to one of his. Didn't you and I go to a bridge show?
We
No,
no, we went to the Download Festival. That was at the same
Download Festival.
venue that they had the bridge show. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We saw Mute was the big band on that festival show that we saw.
What did you call them?
I don't know. Is that not who? Is there? Are they
Uh,
Mute?
Muse.
Muse. Oh, Mute. Mute.
Yeah,
They
Muse.
use the same font as Mute Records.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah, Muse. It was Beck and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Muse and the
Muse.
Shins and TV on the radio. I
Yep.
think that was the whole lineup.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to see the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I don't think they're. I don't know if they're ever coming back. That was a good show.
Yeah.
I'm down. All right. Well, I have to take this into a very different direction. I'm just going to get it out and get it done. And I know you're a big Towns Van Zandt fan, and you may
Oh
not
yeah.
feel the way I do about this, but I consider the song Marie by Towns Van Zandt to be the most bleak song I have ever heard. And there are some live performances from the tail end of his career that I consider like bleak to the point of being pornographic. And I have mixed feelings about even listening to those things because
Yeah.
like there's you can't make a rational case that you're enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
to me there's something about that song that has again it's one of the only like genuinely dark things I've heard that doesn't have like a demonic energy on it. It's dark without, like a Venom record is dark. If you go Slayer records about, Joseph Mengele, that's some pretty bleak shit. There you
Mhm.
can't, you know what I mean? Like it's not a competition. And but I'm just saying, like I want to acknowledge the scope of like I don't know how to really explain why the word bleak is what I associate with Marie. Both the performances at the end and then the actual song itself. Now Willie Nelson does a version of it that I think has some of the pornographic aspect of it of Towns Van Zandt's despair at the end of his life. Like the Willie Nelson version of it doesn't really have that energy on it. And again, I say this stuff, I'm not being critical like at all. I don't know what Towns Van Zandt's wishes were about his posthumous recordings. Maybe he wanted all this stuff out. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he wanted it recorded. I don't know anything about it, but there is something about listening to that is uh it's like voyeuristic in the not like it's in like the worst way. And I don't know if that's what he intended or not, but Marie is about that what we were talking about sort of lightly a little bit ago is like this foreboding feeling of I have a winter to survive. Like
Yeah.
by November, you have a pretty good idea whether or not your entire year's work was going to be enough for you to make it through the winter or not with all them kids. So like that feeling of doom that hangs over what's coming is what the song Marie, in my opinion, uses to advance its story. Like it's it's not really about the future sense of foreboding, but that sense of foreboding inherent to Autumn is what moves the story forward. Anyway, I don't want to give an exposition on it. I'm not a Towns expert. I don't know anything really about the origin story of the song. I first heard it, I think, in the same version everybody else hears, but then it was one of those things where Towns, it's hard to explain this these days, but like Towns Van Zandt records were either rare or they weren't, you couldn't count on there being like a rack full of them when you went to the record store. Even like even maybe 15 years ago, I'd say. I don't know, when most of his catalog is pretty everywhere now, but that really wasn't true. You had to go to big good record stores to find stuff by him, and there would be times where I'd go and look and there'd be something in there. I'd be like, well, I don't know what this is, but I do know these songs, so I'll buy this. And it was all of this like these like live performances from late in his career. They're all, I love the songs and I care about like him, but those performances are so difficult to listen to. So the fact
Yeah.
that he has a difficult performance of what I think from a subject matter point of view has got to be one of the most bleak. It's like Bob Dylan said, like the worst fear that can be hurled in the world is to not want to bring a child into the world. Like what is the what generally like that's the point at which human revolutions start. Like if you're living under a system of oppression so bad that you want to not bring children into the world, like that's usually like that means that whatever system you are in is going to have to be destroyed because no one can live like that. Well, this song is about carrying that within you, and it's brutal. It's brutal. And I don't, to say that I find the storytelling of the song really compelling. I don't want to, like, I'm not comfortable with the fact that I enjoy listening to it while also feeling it's abhorrent. Does this make sense at all?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, I went on a rant there, but
Yeah.
I did telegraph, like, this is the bleakest thing I know of that is recorded, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's from the guy that started out his career with "Waiting Around to Die,"
Right.
um, as as a song. If people aren't familiar with that song, that's one of his earliest songs. Um, yeah, Towns Van Sant it doesn't really give you anything light. That's just like strictly light. Even the more uplifting Towns Van Sant moments are weighted down with that sort of uh, you know the the feet are in concrete. No matter what. Um,
Sorry.
but yeah, yeah, it is a great song. It's a tough place to go to. It's it's kind of like a movie like Taxi Driver or something like that. It's just not something you can go through. You can go through that experience on just like a Saturday afternoon or something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
There is it's like we were talking about this, I think, after we did Halloween, but like Frankie Teardrop is a
Oh
song I
yeah.
would put in this category, which is like the first time that you listen to it, really listen to it, it's like terrifying. It's
Hmm.
really terrifying. The
Yeah.
first listen to Jesus and Mary Chain Psycho Candy, I thought some of that was genuinely terrifying the first time I heard it. But like nothing terrifying is not bleak, but this is both bleak and terrifying, this song.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's the dark side of the fall story, and I'm not sad for picking it. I'm sad it took me so long to get through my thoughts, and I'm still.
Well,
I don't know if I can listen to it even now, even though I've purged
yeah.
the feeling about it. I don't think I could go listen to it.
By the way, though, you talk about Willie Nelson covering it. I
Yeah,
think I think that's a bold move, for Willie Nelson. Like, not that Willie Nelson's career isn't full of bold moves here and there.
right.
But it definitely isn't like the if you tackle a song like Marie, you know what you're up against. You know that probably the everybody but everybody loves On the Road Again, but not everybody that loves On the Road Again is going to take to Willie Nelson's version of Marie. It's they're
Right.
not all going to be on board for that. So
Especially after Poncho and Lefty. Like, you got to think of
yeah.
the Willie fan who thinks of Towns as, oh, Poncho and Lefty. I think you could use Willie Nelson's cover of Marie and the fact that he is able to handle that subject matter with a performance that is night and day from Towns, but has enough emotional gravitas. Like, Willie may not own that song; it's a tribute. It's not, he's not claiming it, but Willie definitely does pretty much with it what he could. Like, who
Yeah.
I've never heard another cover of that song. I'd like to know anybody who could pull that off.
Yeah,
Anybody.
because yeah, I mean, I don't think Willie Nelson has that kind of darkness in his
No,
soul.
but he could
But
deliver it. He could
yeah,
deliver it.
right. But yeah, I mean, no, nobody does. I mean, I don't know where I don't know where it came from with Towns Van Sant really even, but it's just he went to some seriously dark places. That being said, though, you know, a lot of people haven't probably spent a lot of time delving into the Towns Van Sant catalog, but you should. It's rewarding.
Yeah, you should put up a sampler. The only thing I would ask is the fraternity blues. Please include that. That's
Yeah,
my request.
I will try to do that. I'm not sure that everything's going to be on Spotify though. That everything
That's
that
true.
needs to be. But I'll do what I can with it.
All right. And if you can't find the his version of the Shrimp song, you could use Frank Black's. You have my permission. All right, there you go. Sorry, that really was that was a supply of drama where there was no demand. Sorry, I had to I had to put it out there. That's
Yeah.
just how. Look, that is to me, autumn sucks, and the fact that I think the worst song ever, or the worst feeling song ever,
Yeah, yeah.
is associated with it. What are you
Let's
gonna
watch
do?
how we phrase that.
Sorry, it is the worst feeling I have ever had from listening to a song that I wasn't just repulsed by lyrical content. You know.
Yeah. To I think put it clearly, we agree it's a great song, right? That is just a tough. It's a tough place to
Yeah.
go
It
emotionally.
it it absolutely, like, the fact that he could think of a narrative of that type with those elements in it. His his the fact that his mind was incapable of conjuring that is a to me a window into how hard it must have to be to live coexist with his own brain. Like it absolutely the story checks that he would have been in hell. It's really dark. So anyway, on that pleasant note, it's your turn.
All right. Well, yeah. So dark, but not dark on that same kind of level. My next selection is No Name Number Five by Elliott Smith. We talked a lot about Elliott Smith last week, but I wanted to go back for this
You
song.
you are entitled to.
All right. Well, thank you.
It is a fantastic song.
Yeah, it is. It is a fantastic song, and it has that musically has that feel to it that I think works with the early. Gets dark early. It's November. It's winter's coming on. It's that sort of feeling, and thematically, it also continues my narrative with the line "I got a broken heart" and your name on the cast. Um, this is when the relationship is severed now, and this is now in isolation. The song is about that isolation that comes after a relationship ended.
It's your separation season, sir.
Mm-hmm.
No complaints here. Again, I don't know if I'm deep enough with him to have been able to pull out a reco from him, but it's a welcome addition. I feel pressure to go away from darkness and go towards the light, and I am going to do that with a Moby Grape song that I believe, I don't know if it was written for another band or what. I'm guessing not, but I believe the after the song "It's a Beautiful Day Today" came out on Moby Grape 69, I believe a band named itself "It's a Beautiful Day Today," and their only hit was a cover of Moby Grape's "It's a Beautiful Day Today." But I am going back for the original, not really autumnal in the purest sense. But for me, Moby Grape, in its mellower moods, are among the great like autumn sounding records from a time where rock didn't do a ton of that yet. Um, like I guess everybody was sort of. It's interesting because this is the week that the Dylan bootleg series is about his country rock era. Like Dylan really did single handedly create the words country rock. Basically, were invented to start selling his records.
Mm-hmm.
What 68, 69, 70,
Yeah.
and
And
then you
and
get go ahead. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, finish your thought, and then
I'm just
I'll.
saying, like that really is like we use lots of different names now, like the No Depression name and the Americana name, and there's lots of alt country. There's lots of designations for country rock, and 90% of it wasn't the Eagles. Like it really was a very interesting branch of the tree. It still remains a very interesting branch of the tree, and so I look at the Moby Grape catalog in certain spots to be like a foundational text for for what we would call country rock. It's just going with cheesy name here to throw in It's a Beautiful Day Today, but I do think of Moby Grape as having that great organic brown, you know, I should have just picked the band's self-titled album. That's the most autumn looking record cover also in the world. But like Moby Grape to me is just in that warm autumnal part of the tree, to use a bad pun.
Well, okay, so since you mentioned Dylan and that era, I'll quickly mention something that just narrowly missed the cut. It would have worked in my narrative as well, but I was gonna go because I think Nashville Skyline's a pretty good album for this sort of thing as
Oh
well.
yeah.
It's right along the lines of October, maybe more October than November, but the song that I was gonna go with would have been perfect for November, I think, and that's I Threw It All Away.
Yeah, that's great.
That would have worked perfectly with my narrative too, but I didn't want to, I felt like I was pushing it as it is with six, so it just narrowly missed.
We will both agree, maybe in things like this in the future, we each just get a off the board Dylan pick just to make sure it gets covered.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay, well that's mine then.
Sold. You got yours. It is also your turn, sir.
Okay, and by the way, if you want to go with that and put that on the playlist, you can put
right.
I Threw It All Away on the playlist, and I will be pleased that you did.
Sold.
Okay, so now the relationship's ended. My narrative is in the isolation period. So what's next? It would be the question, and with my next song, the answer is spirituality. So my next song is the Velvet Underground's Jesus. So we turn to spirituality to try and look for the answer to this isolation. And musically,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, musically, just again, it's just perfect music for this time of year.
We haven't really had a chance to talk Velvet Underground, and I'm going on memory here. But if I'm not are you my music nerd friend who considers the self-titled album to be their best record?
Not necessarily. It's one of those that it can be my favorite at certain times, though. It alternates. Sometimes it's loaded. We did kind of have a discussion about this because
yeah.
I don't feel like the Velvet Underground and Nico is the absolute best that they did. I think it's just as good as Loaded and or the self-titled. I think White Light, White Heat is probably the lesser of the albums, but the other three I think are all just about as good as each other. I don't feel like there's a favorite.
Yeah, they're a great pick in the autumn because nobody writes love songs to New York for like the summertime. You know what I mean? Most people think of like New York summer as being gross.
Mm-hmm.
Like New York, you're out in a jacket, and you have like all the great New York records and stuff. They were in jackets. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Velvet Underground, definitely.
Because summer in the city, the back of your neck is getting dirty and gritty.
That is absolutely true. People walking around looking half dead. I'm gonna put my meaningless seal of approval on your choice of a Velvet Underground song. Here, I'm just gonna drop a hot take in here and move on, which is, if the Velvet Underground had only made their first two records, they'd be just as great. It doesn't mean that the records afterward aren't great, but they'd be just as important if all they did was the first two records. Everything after that is interesting, but not as interesting as the first two records.
No, I definitely. I mean, nothing against the first two albums, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'd feel they're pretty important with those two, without the other two, but certainly glad that they did make another two.
Yeah. Wow, another one. Loaded, 1970. Think of that from an album year. Um, just the three we talked about today. Those are just those are all 50 years old now. Um, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it listening to it. Sir, I'm a fan of your playlist so far, and I'm gonna try to pay you off here by giving you something. Although again, this is another just chintzy wordplay because I'm trying to avoid going back into all the dark shit. Although it's a little bit of a dark, there's a little bit of a dark timber to it. But I'm just gonna do another cheap name thing with a band that I know you at least like because we've talked about it. I'm gonna take the Sweater song from the first Weezer album as my next one.
All right.
I don't, I don't really have much of a defense here, other than I lived in Los Angeles when that record first came out, and I remember hearing it on their little alternative, back when radio stations did shit, be like the buzz, all that ridiculous like alt radio positioning. I remember Weezer. I remember this song particularly coming out on the radio there. I liked it from the very first spin. It was great. It is
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
go
I,
ahead.
I like the song. I guess I've never, ever, ever associated with this time of year, but yeah,
It's the Sweater
I
song.
know. I get it. I
All right,
understand.
done. Great. Thanks. You're the one who wants to go to 12, my man. Anyway.
All right. So is it? So is that it? Is it my pick then?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay. Well, I guess a hard left from that, or maybe that was the hard left. I don't know.
Thank me later.
There was a hard left in there somewhere. Well, okay. So I'm continuing the spirituality movement in my narrative here, and my last song is "Try Again" by Big Star. Um, Spirituality was very much a part of Big Star, especially for Chris Bell songs, and this really jumps off of the Velvet Underground very well, and musically, that the slide guitar on the song, along with the acoustic guitar strumming, just perfect for this time of year.
Yeah. I think the third Big Star record is probably would be my favorite wintertime album. I don't know if we're gonna make that a topic or not, so I
Yeah.
hope we don't because I just gave it away. But the first two, both Big Star records are great fall records. Now that I think about it, I don't think of them that way, but Try Again is fantastic call there.
Yeah, and Try Again is from Number One Record.
What an album! I'm just looking at it right here. Like,
Which, that unfortunately, Number One Record is the only Big Star record that had Chris Bell on it. Sadly, I mean, he did contribute some of the songs to Radio City, but wasn't actually on Radio City.
where is side one end on that? I'm looking at. I've never seen a vinyl copy. I don't own a vinyl copy. So what is the split? Is when my baby's beside me the first song on side two?
I don't know right off the top of my head,
Because
but
that would be a great. Because My Life Is Right is fantastic. Try Again. That's a really interesting album from the point of view of like side A, side B. Because Goodo, In the Street, 13, and Don't Lie to Me are going to be among the tightest 4-pack you are ever, 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 ever going to see.
yeah, well, and there isn't much much of a dud on that record at all.
No, I
But
agree. Yeah, it's time to dig out the
okay.
old playlist.
So
Good call.
so yeah, When My Baby's Beside Me is number one on side two.
That makes me feel better. My instincts were correct because that's such a great way to kick off side two. Which, remember, Try Again and When My Baby's Beside Me are on the same side of the record. Pretty great. Pretty great. We should do an All Big Star show. Again, I don't have your depth of them, but I have. There's like a very select group of people who I've turned on to Big Star's third, and where it's like you become friends for life when you do that. When there's like a certain alternative rock nerd like myself who's like a big Cure fan. Like there are Cure fans who are instantly gonna go for that third Big Star album. You know what I mean? It's like a real, and obviously that's because of the This Mortal Coil record, but still, I mean, it's so good. Their catalog is so good, and it's only 3 records. We need to do a whole show on it, sir.
Oh, anytime at all.
All right, that's a pretty tight playlist from you. I got to put one more on here, and I'm trying. I don't have any reason to crop dust with hate here. I can do something. I'm gonna put just a mood song on, and I think there's some subliminal cues that we all get. I don't know why the word organic keeps coming up around fall for me, and the color brown, I guess, is from the leaves. But like, there's just that organic acoustic brown. I don't know the word cloud around autumn that translates to music pretty easily. I'm gonna take the band Pentangle from the album Basket of Light. They do a cover of Sally Go Round the Roses, which is this like oldie. The original one is really good too. The original Sally Go Round the Roses is like, I think it's like was like an R&B hit first. Pretty sure it was. And you can't get more square and not R&B than Pentangle. Like it's like that, like when there was like that phony Renaissance style revival in the late 60s. Like their catalog is mostly not my thing. I got to them by being like a Burt Jansch fan. And that cover, Sally Go Round the Roses, for whatever reason, is extremely gentle, and it's almost like it's very organic. It's got a lot of that fall palette in terms of color on it. It's just it's fantastic. Even though it's a super square rendering of a song that's otherwise a little on the funky side, I gotta put it on there. Pentangle's "Sally Go Round the Roses." If you come as you were saying, Flick, we'll post it for you. It'll be up on the playlist, and it's definitely, if it's not on your radar, give both versions a try.
All right.
Pretty good list.
Yeah. Yeah, I was happy with, like it's a tough one to make the cuts on. I had plenty more that could have made the list, but I whittled it down to 6, and then realized that there was a through line here, and it was kind of a nice find.
You might have to do some self-examination. I want to hear how it turns out.
It may be true.
Well played. So are we on to Journey?
Oh yeah, the Journey to Journey.
We had to get there eventually. I believe Journey was your pick, correct?
Yeah, it was, ironically. I hate Journey. But
why did you pick them? Just because did you think this would be difficult, or did you think this would be easy?
I thought this would be difficult, but I knew it had to be done. So I guess I was feeling responsible, and knew I had to do the right thing and just bite the bullet and go with Journey.
All right, so I didn't have that hard a time. However, I didn't end up. I'm not super deep on the bench here. I go first, and I'm going to take what I think is really the only really defendable song, and that's Any Way You Want It from Departure. And it's not that album that makes it important, it's the movie Caddyshack that makes it important.
Yeah.
Like the thing that makes this song absolutely an okay pick is it is so perfectly placed in Caddyshack, and is so tied to that movie that you can't complain about it. So I think it's the only song nobody really can register or complain about any way you want it from Departure.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way about that because of Caddyshack, mostly. I also feel like, well, I'll go into this more after I make my pick, I guess. All right, you
And
ready for
it's
me to?
your pick. Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, can anybody really be ready?
Okay. Okay. So my first pick is even with the bands I really despise, there's usually one song that I'm okay with that I would say I like at least a little bit. So my first pick is that. Any Way You Want It would have been my second choice.
Mm.
Uh, but my first choice is Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin'. And
Mm.
yeah, well,
That comes off though. That's a tough one because that's up on there on my big board. Wow, interesting.
what did you say it was low or high?
No, I it would have been in my top five for sure.
Oh,
If
okay.
you hadn't picked it, I definitely would have.
Yeah, I would say this song and probably Any Way You Want It as well is Journey, I think, playing to their strength because I think their strength was a bar band. Like when
Hmm.
they're just trying to be a bar band, they're effective. Unfortunately, I didn't find many songs where they're trying to do that. But but this is a good anyway. Or Love and Touch and Squeezing, I think is a really effective bar band
All
song.
right. Yeah, I've so far this has been relatively painless. I I hadn't used the bar band criteria. Like, all right, if it's 1980 or whatever, and you duck into a little bar in some town, and Journey's, just doing like a little show there, they could probably they could put a good hour on the board if you're lubricated, like if you're a little buzzed out with a chick or whatever. Like, I could definitely non-ironically enjoy an hour of them as bar band. They would have to do a ballad, and unfortunately with Journey, that's really the worst part of their instincts, is how huge their ballads were and how vapid they are.
Yeah.
I really want to avoid ballads, so I'm going to go with as close to a ballad with them as I can. And I think it would be one of the best bar band sing-alongs ever is Lights from Infinity. That would be,
Yeah.
to me, that's as close to a ballad as I could get with them. And I would love to be buzzed in some bar singing along with the chorus at the end, the whoa, 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 whoas. That would be fantastic bar band shit. And I'm
Yeah.
not picking faithfully, so that's the best I could do on the ballad tip. Lights.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree. I say unfortunately because I'm running out of songs really quick. Because I kind of concur with that, and so therefore I've just about blown out.
Yeah.
At this point, you've helped blow out like my four of my
Your ace.
first five here.
Well, you're suffering for fashion.
Yeah. And
It
and
is.
the thing about it is you had an easy time with this, so you have songs to spare and
I
I
have.
don't.
Oh yeah, I do. I
I
do. And
mean,
and again, we didn't. I forgot to mention that we had under rules this time. Oh Sherry by Steve Perry is
well,
eligible for the draft.
yeah, you probably don't
Not.
want to say that until one of us picks it, though.
You're right. You're right. I
Uh,
think I have a navigation to the end here. I think I get to the goal line here with less pain than you do. I
oh well,
I feel for sure.
the pain's already starting. It's
Here comes the pain, as Juliana
yeah.
Hatfield once said. It's your turn, sir. You're just stalling now. Now you're
I
just
mean,
stalling.
okay. So the next two on my board, I feel like if I pick one, you're going to pick the other.
Mm. Don't be
Uh,
so sure. I've got some
okay.
oddballs coming.
I mean, it's already to the point where it's just like I feel like I got to go with "Don't Stop Believing" because what else is there?
Yeah, you know what? I won't. This was not in my top five, but at some point, I mean, I guess, look, the way you can convince millennials that the 80s was fucked up and should not be like they should have no phony nostalgia for the 80s is to if you can get one of them to understand that this song was not on the radio ironically when it was out. Like if you can get a young person to understand that people listened to Journey and meant it, like
Yeah.
like if you can get them to understand that, you can get them to understand the peril of the entire decade.
Yeah. But yeah, this is no good. I mean, essentially that's my second pick and it's a song I didn't even really want. So,
Oof. All right. Well, I'll try to help you out here. I'm steering clear of almost every major hit. Uh, and by the way, let's do a quick shout out. I don't know if we haven't talked a ton about Petra Hayden, but on our playlist for November, I put her cover of "Don't Stop Believing" on there. She did it in the same style she did the Who Sell Out tribute album she did. I love that style of the music she does. She does lots of other stuff that's great. She can really sing, and she's a great background vocalist too.
and
Uh,
and and for those unfamiliar, that style is a cappella, just so we're clear. Like that's
mm, yes. What if Petra makes it a cappella?
yeah, that's right.
She absolutely she will, and that I think
She's still express.
I think Mike Watt is the one who told her to record that Who Sell Out a cappella, where she basically does the mouth the instrument sounds. It's great. Her version of "Don't Stop Believin'" is great. It's her imitation of the guitar conveys so much love of that guitar. It's unbelievable. So I put that on a playlist of if you want to have a mildly interesting, smirky, ironic, hate listen to a Journey song. This is about the best "Don't Stop Believing's" going to be. You had to do it, Flick. You had to do what you had to do. Now I got to do what I got to do. I'm going to throw in next "Wheel in the Sky" from
See,
Infinity.
See that again, it's one of those things where it's just like I should have done this so I could do that later. I should have gone with Will in the Sky so that I didn't have to get Don't Stop. And now I'm out. I'm like I got nothing. Nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, I can cruise here then because I got three winners.
Yeah, this blows. This just I not only do I got to resort to O'Sherry, I got to resort to O'Sherry now. I don't know what else to do.
Woo!
Because yeah, I mean, I knew this was going to be hell, and it is. It is.
Well, I do consider this a sign of weakness that you're going for O'Sherry this early.
Well,
Uh,
there's never been. I mean, we've had some drafts where we're going for some of the same things.
mhm.
I think this one was the one where it's just like every pick that you did it in the order that I would have tried to do it. So
Hmm. Hmm.
it's just and I didn't have any margin for error at all. So
Well, I think there's at least one more bar band
you
alpha
do.
on the board.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like a straight ahead rocker. However, there's sort of a left field, like towards the end there, when that last album that they had with Steve Perry in it. I can't remember which album that was. Raised on Radio? Does that sound right? It was terrible. Not that they all weren't, but it like really didn't have any big hits on it either. Be True to Yourself and Girl Can't Help It and Raised on Radio. Like those were the singles. Those were nothing by their standards. They were pretty much done. So I don't think you could pick anything even from that album, right? Yeah, you can't. All right, I'm gonna just take the only other thing here. I'm gonna take um, Only the Young from Frontiers. It's shit. It's not It's not great, but you got to remember during that period, Separate Ways, Sender My Love, and Faithfully were all singles. You've been that literally there was a period there for like I was living in Chicago growing up there at the time where like WLS, which you could get in Iowa too, but like WLS basically played Journey solid from like 1981 through 1982 and 1983. Think of all the great albums that came out during that time. You would have never heard them on the radio because of fucking Journey. So, for my that song Only the Young from Frontiers was a bit of a break from their just garden variety horseshit. It sounds different than their other stuff. It has this weird vocal coda that goes on way longer than you think it would. It's like it's not just a chintz pop record. Like I feel like they were trying to do something different. It's an interesting listen once or twice. So there you go. Only the Young.
Okay, is that the one? That's the one that was on the Vision Quest soundtrack, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I forgot about that. Right. That was it was kind of a hit, but it was remember that song Separate Ways is in the worst 5 videos ever made. This is a band that had unlimited budget to make videos, and they made the video for Separate Ways. Go watch that video. It's even worse than Blue Oyster Cult's Burnin' For You. They made horrible albums when they had all the money in the world and horrible videos too. They're just a plague. They were just a plague. Sorry. Here ends the lecture.
Burnin' For You is a misunderstood classic.
It's the
video? I'm joking. Yeah,
You got me, sir. You got me. I was triggered. I
like the song. I like the song Burning For You. The video is so crazy that it's a must watch, I would say.
Oh yeah.
But because it's absolutely nuts. So I guess I'm somewhat lucky, although this is hardly luck. But the song that I should have picked with my last pick, but completely forgot about, is still available with this pick. So at least I have some saving grace here, if you can consider it that. I'm going to go with Separate Ways just because it's got to be the best song left, for whatever that's worth.
It's this is a tough time to be saying that, sir. Let's have it.
I'll say it's better than Only the Young. I'll say I got
that's value. Not the highest bar.
I'm not
to have to get over.
I'm not trying to set a high bar.
You succeeded. What do you got?
Separate Ways.
No, you picked Separate Ways?
I did, yeah.
Oh my, really?
Yeah, well,
you don't shit where you eat. All right, this is brutal.
I just got done picking Oh Sherry. I think at this point I don't have any choice but to pick Separate Ways.
Oh no! Wait a minute. Where are we here then? We're not. We each have two. We each have to go with one more pick. So I pick next. There's only one possible way forward here, and that's I'll take Just the Same Way from Evolution.
I don't even know what that is.
You would if you heard it. It was you definitely would. Just the Same Way You Love Me, just the same way you do. It's bar band schmaltz. It's bar band schmaltz, but at least it's not a fucking ballad. So I'll say that for Separate Ways. Separate Ways video makes it impossible for anybody to take them seriously. But if you just listen to the song, like at least it's not a fucking ballad.
Separate Ways isn't really a ballad, though.
No, that's what I mean. That's the only virtue it has.
Gotcha.
Like the fact, that's the only nice thing I could say about that. Plus, Just the Same Way.
I mean, so we've talked about intros a lot. A lot of times, intros are the saving grace to some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this is a great intro or anything, but it's a passable intro to Separate Ways. It's it comes on strong, ish.
I'm not in a position to argue here.
I don't know. It's
You are
I
right. This is brutal. Actually,
I mean,
you're really getting
yeah,
down
because
there.
it is like under no circumstances should I feel lucky that I got separate ways, but compared to what's available, yeah,
Wow. There's truth here. There's truth being spoken. Um, I need you to persevere.
yeah,
I need you to persevere.
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. There's I don't even anything that I know that's still out there. I absolutely do not want, and
Right.
I don't really want the song I'm about to pick either, but it's better than the others. So I'm gonna go with "Be Good to Yourself."
Okay. Yeah. Which album is that on?
I don't know. Greatest hits. It's on the greatest hits.
You know what, sir? You did us a service there because I didn't I didn't have that on my list, but that's because I
Uh,
couldn't find it. I thought it was on. I couldn't figure out what album it was on. But you're right. It's one of those bonus songs from a greatest hits record. You're like Balto bringing the vaccines to Nome. Like you got through just in time
I know.
with that one. So wait, what are we up to? That's it. We made it.
Yep. That's it. Yep. Good riddance.
Wow.
Good riddance.
Yeah, but think of how great it was. Think of what we were able to not have to suffer through.
Yeah.
We
Well,
didn't. Oh my God, that was good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we didn't have to do faithfully and what else?
Oh,
Open
all their
arms.
ballads.
Open arms.
Faithfully, Who's Crying Now
Who's
is
crying now?
one of the worst songs ever written. I'll Be All
Yeah.
Right Without You.
Yeah.
Girl
Yeah.
Can't Help It.
They definitely gave in to the light rock movement going on at that time.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're the house band in hell. What can you do?
Yeah. But yeah, I the only thing I feel decent about is that I got love and touch and squeeze, and that's the only positive from that for me.
Uh, yeah.
It's like pulling
This
teeth.
is this we're speaking of. I mean, this is bleak in every way we intended it to be. Uh, there's really very you can any way you want it. I can like chuckle about like, oh, Rodney Dangerfield dancing. Like I can even
You
do that a couple of times, but even that'll wear out.
know.
So we don't have a banality draft, right? We're done. I think we're
Yeah.
done, right?
Well, no, ish. I mean, I think it will come back, but we're giving it a break after 10 and focusing on best of the decade coming up and you know, and then we'll have a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we won't be able to do a best of the decade now for another decade.
Yep.
So that's important to go first. We've talked about it a little bit. I think there's going to be room for hot takes. I think we are on a collision course of hot takes as we get into this best of the decade albums, that's our first one up, right? We're doing top 12 albums of the 2010s.
Yeah, and I want to stress that I'm not considering it so much the best. It's a favorite. You know, like I haven't heard every record that you know
Right,
came out in the
right.
decade. So so I'm just you know I'm just focusing on which ones were my favorites.
All right, that's still. I don't want to get rid of a hot take too soon, but it's
Yeah,
albums aren't what they used to be, and I think the way songs are being distributed these days, like I think there are strategies with bands and record companies that sort of denude. By the time this new Beck album comes out, half of the songs will have already been in rotation for a month apiece. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
the album at that point is sort of academic.
Yeah, these are different times. That being said, I didn't have any trouble coming up with 12 for the decade that were strong as albums. I think I might have had a hard time coming up with 20. So I somewhat agree with your hot take, but 12 was no problem. And I think 15, I could have easily done 15.
All
Um,
right.
So,
Well, I know we have some duplication, so let's see if we can produce, let's see, even 20 between the two of us. I bet we can, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I would think there's going to be some crossover, but that's okay.
All right, that is our up next. That will be our episode 11, the Mighty 11, on the left of the dial pod.
Yeah, starting a new decade soon, and we're starting a new. We're getting into the teens.
A new decile. Yes.
That's right.
Others celebrate the kicking off a new decade. I believe we should measure our success by the decile, and our first 10 are in the books. I'm proud of us.
Yep, we're already in the double digits.
And daily growing. We will see you next time.
All right. Later.
Later.